What's up, beer seekers? Brandon and Steve here. It's been a little while, but we are going to throw out another episode of Beers with the Boys. So we went to Channel Marker Brewing Company in Beverly, Massachusetts on New Year's Eve day, and we are getting around to tasting these and reviewing them and just kind of giving our thoughts on some of their beers that we snagged on that particular day. So we got three today. We have their Flagship IPA, which we will review. Love that can art. It is fantastic. That's one thing I will immediately say off the bat is Channel Marker can art and label art is fantastic. The next one we've got is the Double IPA, their second anniversary beer, double IPA. There it is right there. And then the last one that I got is their Queen Siren Imperial Sour. That is going to be a fun one. Yeah. So first we're going to start with their Flagship IPA. Makes a lot of sense. Yeah. So we'll dive right into it. And so Steve, I mean, there you go. Take the final sip. And, what do we got here? I mean, we're obviously dealing with a it's on the hazy side, hazy IPA. Yep. I poured it into my glass. I finished it a few minutes ago, but
just in time to fire the video up.
Exactly right. It makes so much sense. It was definitely cloudy, very, very hazy. What do you get when you take your first sniffs of it? Take your first couple sips.
Yeah, it's very hoppy is what I noticed. I mean, that's the most obvious thing. It's 7.6% alcohol, which on the higher end for just a regular IPA. Mm-hmm. But it's not that strong. It's easy to drink. If you like the bitterness of hops, you're gonna get a lot of it. I don't know about you, I almost got like a saltiness to it as well. More so than I feel like I usually do with an IPA. Did you notice that?
A little bit, so I actually, it was definitely, I mentioned the haziness of it. It was definitely fruity, but I got a couple of different fruits that I normally don't get. So, when you think of a hazy IPA, like a New England style, I think you normally think of like citrus, like grapefruit, pineapple, mango. I didn't really get any of that. I actually kind of got more of like an orange zesty, maybe even a little bit of kiwi. And that's, so maybe like just the idea of the different style of fruit flavors that you get, I think can bring a little bit of that salt flavor into it. Yeah. And because it's an IPA, it doesn't label itself as a New England IPA. I got a decent amount of bitterness to it and the like hoppiness, the piney taste to it towards the end of the sip, like that back end. Yeah. I got a little bit more of that than you would with like a New England IPA. So, yeah.
I agree. And it lingers too a little bit longer, I feel like, than most after the aftertaste, it hangs around for a little bit. But it's a very good IPA, and the reviews for it, our opinions aside, are it's like a local legend here in the North Shore, Massachusetts area.
Exactly. Yeah, it really is. And you're right. I mean, it did linger a little bit. It's got that burning, a little bit of a burn to it. You mentioned 7.6%. That is a bit of an elevation in the ABV for your standard IPA. So I guess it kind of makes sense that you get that alcoholic burn to it at the end. And that kind of just like that finishes it all off. I mean, you get the fruits up front and the haziness to it, and then it just kind of like all evens out at the end with like that piney, hoppy flavor and that little bit of like a burning.
Yeah.
A little bit.
For sure.
Yeah. So, I think you said it. Definitely a good IPA. Really good. I mean, we heard some of the reviews on it. For sure, I think it lived up to some of the reviews, which were elevated. So, but I'm really anxious to dive into the second anniversary double IPA, which is their current release. They just celebrated their second anniversary, open for business in Beverly, Massachusetts. So they released this one, and I think one of the characteristics of this is we're talking about dealing with a new hop varietal here. From Australia, it is the Eclipse hop. So really excited to dive into this. You get my palate cleanser right there.
I did that
So
too.
this is what it looks like in the glass. A little bit of haziness, not a ton. Not actually. I think this actually has less haziness in the glass than the Flagship IPA had.
Yeah, I was gonna say I've seen both of yours through camera, and as far as I can tell, same thing.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a little darker.
So what are your thoughts taking your first sips on that?
A lot of bitterness. It's a very bitter double IPA. But for me, sometimes double IPAs, there's almost like too much of an alcohol-y, bite to it at the end. But this just feels like
the burning.
Yeah, this is just like hot blast for me. That's it's like this guy taken to another level. The Flagship taken up a notch. It is a hot blast coming out of here.
So we're talking about, and I mentioned the Eclipse hop that they're dealing with as well. But that added to that is the Waimea, Enigma, Citra, Mosaic. All of those hops. Just had to read that off online. All of those hops.
You didn't have it memorized?
No, of course not. No, all of those hops come into this beer. So, I mean, obviously, that's plenty. That's tons. Yeah. For me, I think when I took my first sips of this, I thought this is smoother than the Flagship IPA, just in terms of going down easy. I mean, I mentioned you mentioned as well, the burn, and piney hoppiness on the aftertaste of the Flagship IPA. This one I don't get as much going down, even though, so this is an 8.2% double IPA, stronger and more elevated on the ABV scale, but I think it's smoother going down, kind of like a less harsh finish as it goes down your throat. And I mean, to me, I think this is delicious.
It's a quicker punch of hops in this. Once you get them, from start to just before swallowing, and then once you do, it goes. But then with the Flagship, it's like a steady bitter hoppiness, and like I mentioned, I thought it was almost salty throughout, and then lingering long after the fact. So it's really interesting because I think they're both very hoppy beers, but it's the feel of both of them is very noticeably different.
It's interesting. I mean, you would immediately in your head, you would think double IPA has to be more intense from all flavor angles than an IPA, but I don't think this one necessarily is. And honestly, I love this. I love this double IPA. I hope they brew it for a little
very
bit
drinkable.
longer.
Yeah.
No, I hope they keep brewing this one because you're right, it is drinkable, which is kind of scary at 8.2%.
Yeah. It's interesting to try. I mean, you think of an IPA versus a double IPA. Double IPAs are, like you said, just drinking them, you can feel the big difference. But usually in ABV, there's a big difference too. So, I mean, as far as a double IPA goes, I just feel like everything about it is more drinkable than the average double IPA. It's, average strength, but also very smooth going down the hatch.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I mean, I agree with everything you're saying. I think it's very, very smooth for double IPA, especially something that comes in at 8.2%. And, not as hazy. So you kind of assume maybe not as soft of a mouthfeel, but it is. I mean, it's all super clean, very, very light finish and absolutely delicious.
Yep. Agreed.
So, but I am the one that got the Queen Siren Imperial Sour, and it is it's marshmallow superberry. So since I have this one, you don't. I know you're not a giant fan of sours.
No, I'm not. Not as I did not go out of my way for that one. It's nothing against Channel Marker, but I don't think I'd get that anywhere.
It all works out because Channel Marker is they limit their can sales upon entry, and this particular beer they only allowed 4 cans per person, so I got 1 4-pack.
There you go.
And I just want to point out the look of this. This is
sucker's thick, dude.
It looks like a very, very dark, like raspberry, strawberry milkshake.
Like you just put it all into a blender with
yeah.
thick cream and milk or something and blended it all up, and that's what came out of it.
Exactly. This is if like super hazy IPAs were just straight red.
Yeah.
So I have not had a sip of this yet. So I'm really excited to try this for the first time on camera. But I also want to point out that I have not had a marshmallow IPA sour before. So it's brewed with a bunch of different berries. It's labeled as super berry. It's got raspberry, blueberry, strawberry, blackberry, and then it's also got milk sugar. So that's kind of what gives it this intense thickness. So I'm really excited to try this. I have very high hopes. It smelled great. So here we go.
It's always interesting when we have one, and then you have it, you try it, you talk about it for the very first time right after. What are your thoughts? You take another sip, yeah. But
I feel like I might have a red mustache right now. That is,
I can't tell, but
I don't really want to lean in for everyone watching. That'd probably be gross. It is as thick as it looks. Boy, that is a very, very thick imperial sour, but oh my God, is it delicious?
Yeah. Is the sour like overbearing, or is there enough going on?
I knew you were going to ask me that.
I had a feeling looking at it that wasn't going to be the case, because it just seems like there's so much going on that the sour is almost going to be weighed down or something. But I'll let you explain.
First thing I notice is that it is creamy. We talk a lot about like the soft, pillowy mouthfeel of New England IPAs, like the hazier IPAs. I have not had I don't think in my life, anything that is as creamy as this one is. This is unbelievably thick for a beer. So I get that marshmallow, the milk sugar addition to this. I get it. And because I know that you're not a fan of sweetness, I don't get a whole lot of sweetness in this at all. I get the tart flavors of the berry up front, but it cleans out so nicely. And the addition of that, the milk sugar, making it like more of the thick style, like it's kind of, it does have a little bit of sweetness to it, I guess, because it's milk sugar. So, but it does not come through at all. It's not overly tart at all, which is something that, a lot of people will criticize, not criticize. A lot of people like the overly tart flavors of a sour beer. Something that makes you pucker, right? That's kind of what we always go back to when we're describing sours, is like, does it make you pucker, and is that a good or a bad thing with this particular beer?
That's like the characteristic you think of.
Right, yeah, and this does none of that. It is a tiny bit tart up front, but it's cleaned out so nicely by the fact that it is so thick, and it just goes down so smooth, so easy. And it all of that tartness up front with the berries just washes away. It is so drinkable. And the fact that this is 8%.
We thought the double IPA was dangerous.
It is, yeah, right. Right. This is incredibly smooth for a double IPA. But for something that's only 0.2% ABV lower at 8%, this is dangerous.
That's awesome. I can picture what you mean too. Like, you get the taste right off the bat, which if I'm going to have a sour, I want that. I want to avoid the puckering portion of it at all costs.
You would 100% avoid it with this.
And that just weighs it down. Like the thickness, the creaminess, I feel like just takes over and pushes through that tart puckering.
100%. It is so much like a raspberry, blackberry milkshake that it's honestly, it's uncanny. There's no other way to describe it. It's so good, and it's so clean. So absolutely recommended. If you like the super thick, so like we've tasted a bunch of milkshake IPAs and ones that come in with like the lactose and the milk sugar and whatnot. If you like that, I honestly think that this is not a far cry from any of that. I think that it's it's super delicious. So
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's just a little more fruity. Instead of, you take away the hoppiness and you take away the tropical fruit flavors, and you add the standard berry flavor to something that is just thick. It's strong, but it doesn't punch you with alcohol.
Yeah.
This is it. It's
Yeah.
unbelievable. Yeah.
That's
So
awesome.
listen, we've been trying to get to Channel Marker and get some of their beers for a while.
Not been easy.
It's interesting. It's interesting trying to get some of their beers. In the hour, with whether it's the hours, whether it's like what they've got on tap or what they're distributing in cans, like whatever. It's interesting. But we've heard a bunch that Channel Marker is just this they make great beer. I kind of think it's one of those breweries where like the legend sort of precedes the brewery a bit, and that's it's not a bad thing. But like, we there was a line, you're right, when you and I showed up earlier today, there was a line. I got there before they opened, and it was a line about a block or down the entire block.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I'm starting to get it.
Yeah, no, and I think it's great. I mean, it's awesome to see. I mean, I think we saw this on their Instagram. Noon on New Year's Eve, we have our second anniversary beer coming out, and come and get it starting at noon on Thursday. And we got there. I mean, you mentioned you got there right at noon. Line was already built up. I mean, people were there early for this. That's cool.
I parked and I had to walk, and I was down at the end of the line. I was outside for almost an hour, probably.
That's crazy. I mean, you're a fairly small brewery in like a smallish area. I mean, it's not like they're in the city or anything. I mean, that's going to be a dream come true for them. I mean, they put something up on Instagram, come up with a new beer, and they know they're going to sell it out. That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, so if you're a Channel Marker and you're watching this, we we're thrilled if there's any sort of like expansion, or you plan on a bigger space anytime in the near future that can accommodate maybe a little bit of higher volume, because what you're putting out it's damn good.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So
I mean,
you're gonna need another tap.
Any final thoughts from you before we send it off?
No, I think we chose 3 really good beers to chat about. They all had their differences. We liked all 3 of them. I don't know that I would have loved the one you have in the sour.
I'm not going to discount it though for you. I'm not. I think you might.
Relative to the standard sour, very possible, because we tried one of you, me, and Nick about a month ago or whatever it was that I did like. It was better than the average sour, like I say. But it's just not my first choice. But the IPAs were both really good in their own ways, and I love trying a couple of different IPAs, whether it's IPA or double IPA, and getting the differences between the two. And these two were very different, I thought. So it was a cool set to be able to review. One's their super popular flagship, one's their second anniversary special occasion kind of brew. So two great ones to talk about.
I'd say we've had some pretty good luck with these anniversary beers in 2020. Diving back into some of the beers that we've had throughout the year have been some of the best that we've enjoyed. Have been these anniversary beers, these selective types of one-off beers that they've brewed. Certain breweries have brewed, and they've been fantastic. So, but it's just to me, like the fact that it's only their second anniversary, and they've got a line down the street waiting for them to open so you can go in and get some to-go beer is just a testament to how well they're doing. I mean, they've been named one of like the best or like fastest growing breweries in the country. They're doing a great job. Honestly, I was very, very impressed with all these beers that we tried. So if you are in the area of Beverly, Massachusetts, you got to stop in. You got to stop in and grab some Channel Marker Brewing. I promise it'll be worth it. We definitely have enjoyed drinking these beers. I'm really glad we got a chance to pick them up. So, go ahead and grab Channel Marker. Definitely positive reviews on our end. So there you go.
Absolutely.
Double anniversary, the Queen Siren, Imperial Sour, Flagship IPA, all great stuff. They had some other stuff on tap, or excuse me, in cans today too. So they do more than just like the IPAs and these thick stuff. So yeah, go ahead and grab Channel Marker. Really appreciate them having us today. Cheers.
Cheers.